What's going on, guys, and welcome back to a brand new video. In this one, we are doing something completely different here on NHL. Today, we will be going back to NHL 17 and looking at the ratings of a few players who overall/potentials may have been too low and seeing how they compare to what they are now on NHL 21. We will also be simulating up to the beginning of the 2020-2021 NHL season, which is current day. And we're going to be doing that on NHL 17 and comparing what that simulation engine has these players at compared to what their starting overalls are on NHL 21. I hope that made sense. If it didn't, I think once you see the video, it'll be easier to understand. And now with all that being said, let's get into it. Alright, so here we are back on NHL 17. It has been a very long time since I have played this game. And the fact that this game is about to be 5 years old now is kind of crazy. For me personally, NHL 17 was my favorite NHL game of the PS4 and Xbox One generation of NHL games, and also had one of my favorite soundtracks. This game came out during a very fun time in my life, and there were definitely a lot of fun memories on this game, but anyway, for our first player we will be comparing, it is going to be David Pastrnak of the Boston Bruins. Heading into the 2016-17 season, David Pastrnak was just a little over 2 years out of being drafted 25th overall back in 2014. His stats coming into NHL 17 consisted of 97 NHL games played, with 25 goals and 28 assists for 53 career points up until then. This was good enough for EA to start him off at an 81 overall with medium top 6 potential. Not bad at all, but when you look at the star he became, it doesn't feel too right seeing him not even with elite potential. Obviously, hindsight is 2020, but still interesting to see nonetheless. Another thing that was interesting was seeing EA label Posternock as a playmaker as well. So back to the present day and the original roster at the beginning of NHL 21, we see that David Pastrnak is sitting at a very respectable 91 overall as a sniper. Big gap in overall between NHL 17 and 21, and we also saw him jump from a medium top 6 potential to medium elite. So now what we are going to do is simulate up to the current season on NHL 17 and seeing how David Pastrnak pans out. Does he become the star he is today, or does he become an average top 6 forward like he was projected to be in NHL 17? So after going back in time and simulating the 2016-17 season, the Boston Bruins struggled big time and finished 27th in the NHL. The Bruins in real life that year made the playoffs and fell to the Ottawa Senators at the first round. And speaking of the Sens, in this universe, Erik Karlsson and the rest of that squad complete the Cinderella run and went on to win the Stanley Cup. David Pastrnak's season saw him play in 75 games, and in them scored 13 goals and 28 assists for 41 points on the year. In the offseason, he signs a one-year, $1.4 million contract and increases up to an 83 overall. The Bruins barely missed the playoffs in year 2 of this simulation as they finished 16th in the NHL. The playoffs this season aren't similar in any regard to what they were in real life that year, as they see the Habs bringing the Cup back to Canada for the first time since 1993. David Pastrnak had himself a pretty decent year that saw him play in 79 games and in them score 17 goals and 39 assists for 56 points on the year. In the offseason, he once again signed with the Bruins on another one-year deal, this one worth $3.5 million, and he's now sitting at an 85 overall. The Bees once again disappoint in this simulation for the 2018-19 season as they fell all the way to 25th in the league. With that, obviously this universe does not see the Bruins fall to the St. Louis Blues in a hard-fought 7-game series for the Cup, and the Anaheim Ducks end up taking home Lord Stanley. Pasta had a similar season to last year, just putting up 2 more points. His season was a full 82 games and saw him net 21 goals and 37 assists for 58 points on the year. He stayed at an 85 overall and signed a 3-year deal with the Bruins worth $4.3 million per year. The Bruins have a huge bounce back year in the 2019-20 season as they finished 3rd in the NHL and made it back to the playoffs. They did not last long and were upset by the New York Islanders in 7 games. Pasternak's regular season saw him once again have his career best season as he put up 28 goals and 37 assists for 65 points. In the 7-game playoff run, he was very solid with 5 assists. With all this, by the start of the 2020-21 regular season, which is where he sits currently at the beginning of NHL 21, he has increased up to an 86 overall. So on NHL 17 in September of 2020, David Pastrnak is an 86 overall with medium top 6 potential. His role is a second line forward, and with that, on 17 he was still not looked at as a top line forward yet. Regardless, not bad at all here, but Pasta definitely shattered his expectations from NHL 17, as on NHL 21 he is a 91 overall first line forward with medium elite potential. Obviously it was going to be pretty clear that he was not going to be exactly what he is today in the old game simulation engine, but it was still pretty cool to go back and see what happened. Also, I think it's funny that Pasta was actually labeled as a playmaker in 17, which I'm sure also played a factor in how he simmed. So yeah, not bad, and now let's move on to Sebastian Aho. Sebastian Aho, heading into the 2016-17 NHL season in real life, was preparing for his first ever season in the NHL after being drafted in the second round, 35th overall in the 2015 draft. Based on his play in the Finnish Elite League the year before, where Aho had 45 points in 45 games, EA had him coming into NHL 17 as a 76 overall. Along with this, he was listed as a left-wing sniper under the role of a minor scoring forward. At the beginning of NHL 21, Sebastian Aho is sitting 13 overalls higher at 89 and is a center, two-way forward with medium elite potential. So now, like we did with David Pastrnak, we are going to simulate up until the beginning of the 2020-21 season and seeing how Aho pans out according to the rating and potential EA gave him back in 2016. Sebastian Aho spent the entirety of the 2016-17 NHL season in the minors and helped the Charlotte Checkers finish 22nd in the NHL. In his 70-game AHL season, Aho put up 18 goals and 30 assists for 48 points on the year. This was good enough to see him jump up to a 78 overall, and hopefully he is able to make the Hurricanes roster the next season. The Hurricanes struggled in the 2017-18 season like they did in real life and missed the playoffs after finishing 21st in the NHL. The playoffs obviously did not see Carolina, but they did see the LA Kings add a third Stanley Cup during the 2010s. Sebastian Aho was able to get a few NHL games in this year, and in the 16 games he played in, he had a goal and 2 assists for 3 points. He increased up to an 80 overall, and hopefully we see him full-time with Carolina next year. Carolina puts together a very solid regular season where they finished 10th in the league and in the playoffs. In the postseason, they meet with the Tampa Bay Lightning in the first round and end up falling to them in 6 games. Aho spent the full year up with the Canes and in 82 games had just 3 goals and 17 assists for 20 points. In the playoffs, he was kept off the score sheet during the 6-game series, and in the offseason, he somehow jumped up to an 86 overall and also signed a 1-year $3.2 million deal with Carolina. The Canes sank back into mediocrity in the 2019-20 season as they fell all the way back to 24th in the league. The playoffs of this universe see Ovi and the Caps get their first cup as the Canucks once again lose in another Stanley Cup Finals. Sebastian Aho with another pretty underwhelming season considering his overall, as he had just 9 goals and 14 assists for 23 points on the year. Aho dropped back down to an 85 overall and in the offseason signed another 1-year deal with the Hurricanes. So here on NHL 17 in September of 2020, Sebastian Aho is sitting at an 85 overall, still with medium top 6 potential. His role is a third scoring line forward, and despite being a left-wing sniper, we never even saw him hit the double-digit mark in goals for a season, even as a mid-80s overall player. Aho came somewhat close to what he was overall-wise here on NHL 17, but his stats definitely did not seem deserving of it. To the current day and on NHL 21, it is very safe to say Sebastian Aho outdid what was expected of him back on NHL 17. Today he is sitting at an 89 overall, two-way forward with medium elite potential. His role is also a first-line forward, and I wouldn't be surprised to see Aho sitting at maybe a 90 overall by next year's game. So yeah, Aho proved himself big time, and now onto someone who really brought his game to a level many did not see coming, and that is Braden Point of the Tampa Bay Lightning. Braden Point was selected in the third round of the 2014 NHL entry draft at 79th overall. Heading into the 2016-17 NHL season in real life, Braden Point played in just 9 AHL games, and in them had 2 goals and 2 assists for 4 points. He also spent time in the WHL that season as well, with the Moose Jaw Warriors, where he had 88 points in just 48 games. EA listed Brayden Point coming into NHL 17 as a 72 overall with medium top 9 potential. Today on NHL 21, Point is at an 89 overall with medium elite potential and is an electrifying player to watch. This simulation will start at the 2016-17 season with him at 72 overall, and what's crazy is in real life the very next year he would be an NHL All-Star. Alright, so with that being said, now let's get into the NHL 17 sim engine for Brayden Point and see how he turns out. So with Point being such a low overall, he spent the year in the AHL with the Syracuse Crunch and helped them finish 10th in the league. They made the playoffs and in them fell to the Lehigh Valley Phantoms in 5 games of the third round. To make matters worse, his Tampa Bay Lightning up in the NHL went on to win the Stanley Cup this year. Brayden Point had a solid regular season with 17 goals and 38 assists for 55 points, and in the playoffs had an additional 10 points in 15 games. He increased up to a 76 overall, and hopefully we see him continue to get closer to the NHL. After winning the Stanley Cup the year prior, the Tampa Bay Lightning in the 2017-18 season missed the playoffs altogether as they finished 24th in the NHL. Braden Point split time between the AHL and the NHL this season. In the AHL, he helped the Syracuse Crunch finish 16th in the league and make the postseason where they lost to the Toronto Marlies. Point in 65 AHL regular season games had 11 goals and 28 assists for 39 points and did not play in the playoffs, as he spent the last 10 games of the season up with the Tampa Bay Lightning where he had 3 assists. He fell back to a 75 overall, and there may honestly be a chance he doesn't get to the NHL by the beginning of the 2020-21 season on NHL 17. Tampa bounced back in year 3 of the sim and finished 11th in the league and back in the playoffs where they fell to the Boston Bruins in 6 games. Braden Point spent the full year up with the Bolts and had himself 10 goals and 6 assists for 16 points in the regular season. Throughout the 6-game playoff run, he was nothing but a -4. In the offseason, he increased up to a 77 overall and signed a 1-year, $770,000 deal with the Bolts. After not doing much with his chance in the NHL the year prior, this year saw Braden Point spend the whole season down in Syracuse in the AHL, where he helped them finish 23rd in the league. His regular season was a solid one down in the A, where he led the team in scoring with 20 goals and 34 assists for 54 points on the year. In the offseason, he dropped to a 76 overall and signed with the Boston Bruins organization on a 2-year deal worth $750,000 per year. So here back on NHL 17 in September of 2020, Braden Point is sitting at just 76 overall, who is looking like a career minor leaguer. He still has his medium top 9 forward potential, and his role is just labeled as other forward. Clearly, he didn't even come close to the 89 overall medium league forward he is on NHL 21, and looking back at it as a whole, it is just crazy how Braden Point's career really exploded in real life. Maybe this was just me, but I remember not hearing about this guy pretty much at all, and then before we knew it, he was an NHL All-Star, and then a Stanley Cup champion who was a massive contributor to the Bolts that season, and is likely to do it again this year. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It was something different, but it was fun. It was all over the place as well, and I apologize for that. I haven't done a video like this before. Obviously, it was pretty clear that these guys wouldn't exactly live up to their current day selves, but it was pretty cool to see how much Braden Point really did outdo what was expected of him just a few years ago. It was also really fun hopping back on NHL 17 as well. If I'm being honest, I kinda actually prefer these menus to the ones they use on NHL 21. Maybe that's just the nostalgia talking though. As always, let me know what you guys thought of this video. Maybe if you guys like this, we could look at players who were rated highly on NHL 17 that didn't pan out. So let me know if you guys would like to see that. Once again, as always, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys next time.